Well, one of the things that we've done that's maybe a little unique is we've taken our teams on mission trips. And we've taken our group of young women and we've gone to a third world country, and we've used the sport of volleyball as the platform to bring together the volleyball players from that country. And we would do that, and we would share with them and we would play with them. But when we were not on the courts, we would do all kinds of service leader type of activities. One of them was going to a sugarcane village and just driving in and playing with the children, and they would gather around and we'd play kickball and frisbees and just little things like that. But we would also take food to their families, and the girls would use their own money to shop and buy the things that those families needed, and then we'd bag them up and we'd take them to their family units, and their families were able to eat for 30 days on like $10 of our players' money. And I'll never forget one of the trips that we did that. We were a little short. We didn't anticipate so many families in this village, and so the girls insisted that we go back and buy that money and take it back to the village. Another thing we did on one of those trips is go into the pit, and this was in a country where they had several families actually living in the garbage dump. And I watched our girls just climb down that steep hill and pass out food to them and hug them and love on them and play with those children and so forth. The interesting thing about that, we started the season doing that, and so it was a great team bonding at the beginning of the season, but they carried that we need to serve and care about others and their needs throughout the season. And it's one thing for me to organize that, it's quite another to have the athletes initiate it. And I remember that same season, we were at a tournament and we were staying in a hotel, and late at night one of the players knocked on my door and said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "There are some families here that are in need. They have been removed from their homes because of hurricane disasters, and so they said, we've got to help them." And that came from them, and so sure enough, as soon as that tournament was over the next day, they collected their own money and they went and they bought the things those families needed. We went back to the hotel, gave it to them, and it was just so fun for me to watch them initiate it and follow through, and I didn't have to organize it. It came from their hearts, and I know that that's the kind of people they will be when they leave our programs. Athletics is a great lab, as Coach Miles talked about earlier, where you can teach them responsibility, like being on time, being prepared, being ready to focus. And that is something they need to have to be successful in life. Time management is a huge component for a student athlete. They have to manage their classwork and the demands of that sport. Well, they need to have good time management when they are past the college career. They have to be able to have good time management with balancing their job and their marriages and their family life and their community service and their church work. A solid work ethic. They want to be the role model in their careers. They want to be the ones they look at and say, he's not lazy at his job, he comes prepared and ready to do a hard day's work. Setting goals, the ability to set a goal and work together as a group to achieve that goal. And that you need in every area of life. You need that in marriages, you need that in your job, you need that as church members or as church leaders, you need that in your communities, you need to pass that on to your children. One of the things that I really like to work hard at in our program is honesty. I think in our society that is becoming so abnormal, to be honest. There's this little thing in the play of volleyball where you go up to block a hit. And sometimes you're successful at that and you block it right down. Good for you. And sometimes you're not so successful and they touch your fingertips and they keep going. And if the official sees that, he will call a touch ball. And that immediately gives the team the ball and a point in rally scoring. Sometimes the official doesn't see it, but a line judge sees it and makes the call. However, there's often times when the player touches the ball and neither the official nor the line judge makes the call. And so we have said one of the things we want to make sure we're doing is being honest in all things. So if you touch that ball and no one calls it, you let them know, I touched that.
Let me make sure I understand. You ask your players to call the touch on themselves.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting to watch incoming freshmen who have never experienced that kind of shy away from that, like, does she really mean that? Because sometimes we've lost matches over it, important matches, even at national tournaments. But I am confident that if they can be honest in a little thing like touching a ball in the cornfields of Ohio, that they are going to be honest in their marriages, honest in their workforce, honest in every area, and they will teach others about honesty. The really fun thing about that is we have several of our former players who are coaching, and now they are coaching their teams to be honest in all things. And so those are characteristics that will follow them into their lives.